Hey guys, it's Jennifer from the Shooter's Mindset. We are live with episode 369. We have our co-host here, Greg Cannon. How's it going?
Hey everyone.
And our guest of the hour this week we have Dave Preston from Gray Ops CNC. How's it going, Dave?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. So for anybody, well, first I'm supposed to say happy 308 day. I keep seeing that today, that it's 308. At 308 on 308 would be a really cool time on a really cool date.
It would be cool.
Anyway, I need the 6mm date, but anyway, back to the show. So for those that are unfamiliar with you, Dave, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into competitive shooting?
So I'm, how old am I? I'm 33. I started competitive shooting around 19 or 20. So the story how I got into long range shooting is kind of slightly long, but I'll briefen it up a little bit. So I always had a gun in my hand when I was a little kid, hunting and that sort of thing. Then I got into groundhog hunting here on the farm, and one thing leads to another, and you want to shoot farther and shoot farther. So I got a 308 Remington 700, and I tricked it out with all the Cabela's accessories. I think I had like a Bell and Carlson stock, put my own 20 MOA scope base on it. I don't know, all kinds of stuff. But I had accuracy trouble, and I was hand loading at this time. So I went into a gun shop, Grice's gun shop here in PA. And I told the guy, I was like, I'm having trouble with my 308. I need some BC2 powder. He's like, BC2? What do you need that for? I was like, my 308. And I was using Varget. And he's like, well, if you can't get Varget to shoot, you're not going to get this stuff to shoot. So he ended up inviting me up to his shooting range, and we shot at some. And basically it came down to a bedding problem. So he took my gun home, he bedded it for me, he brought it back, and we were shooting 1,000 yards at silhouette targets with it shortly after that. And that was like my first time shooting long range. And then I went to Penn State for college. I still continued the long range shooting. I actually had a reloading press set up on my nightstand in my dorm room, and loaded ammo at night while everybody was having parties outside. And on the weekends, I'd grab my gun and head to the shooting range. And then I started some backwoods sniper comps at Reed Range, Central PA near Altoona. And I did a few of those. And then in 2013 was my first PRS match. I went down to K&M in Florida. When it's Altus now, but it was K&M. And I remember meeting Joe Walls for the first time. I think he took second place. He might have won that one. And then Francis Kuehl was the other one. And I took third place in my first PRS match. So I was pretty much hooked at that point, and it was all downhill from there.
Yeah. And that's how you became broke. Anyway,
Yeah.
PRS is, yeah, it will break you. But it's funny how everybody kind of gets addictive, it seems like.
For sure.
Like you go do one and then you're just like hooked. All right, I was trying to pull this up, and it looked like the show was all black on Facebook, but it's not. It's up now. I was seeing if there were any comments. Not a whole lot yet, so we're good. So you did really well on your first match, and that was back 2013. That was back in the outlaw days, wasn't it? It was not quite as structured, I don't feel like, as it is now.
Yeah, it was towards the end of 2013. I don't know. For my first match, it seemed like a big deal. There was a lot of people there. There were jerseys. It was a good time.
That's awesome. So you did really well in your first match. You got third, and then you've just kind of continued it and been very consistent throughout your shooting career in PRS, I feel like. So you've focused most of your efforts in PRS and the AG Cup. And you're 4th place for lifetime points in the PRS. So you have 6,226.677 points over 60 matches. So you averaged 103.78 points per match, but 60 matches, like that's a lot of matches.
I think that's just 2-day matches. And then there's all the
Right.
1-day stuff. And that's a lot of rounds downrange, a lot of reloading time. It kind of pains me to think how many handle pulls that equates out to.
I know, you should have tennis elbow from pulling pulling the reloader. So in all of those matches, you have come out with 1 golden bullet, which for anybody that doesn't know, PRS is a point series throughout the year with multiple matches where you can get points based on your percentage of what the winner got in that match. And then at the end, there's a finale and they crown a series winner who gets the golden bullet. So you won the golden bullet 1 year. You also have 5 black bullets, and those are top 10 in the series. So not in a match, but in the series for the whole season. 5 of the black bullets, which is top 10 finishes, and 1 golden bullet. That's pretty remarkable that you've pulled that many. It's an accomplishment just to get a golden bullet, I feel like.
It's an accomplishment just to get a black bullet.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's a ton of great shooters out there. So I think I don't know if everybody realizes what an accomplishment it is to get one of those. I think it's very difficult to attain that. So kudos to you.
Yeah, definitely proud to have those. And I know a lot of people that come over, they look at them, oh, that's a cool trophy. And I'm like, you don't realize what it took to get that. Like, you don't understand. But yeah, I'm super proud of them. And
how did you train to, like, I think you're just very consistent in your shooting. There are some shooters that like have moments of glory and moments of not wanting to talk about. And then and even some of the top shooters, like they'll do really, really great at a match and they'll do what they consider bombing a match, which means they like weren't top 10. And I'm like, whatever, you were 12. But and then there's some people that are just very, very consistent. And you seem to be one of those that's pretty consistent with your shooting. How do you train?
When I first started, I don't know, I was just taking in as much knowledge as I possibly could. I mean, it was awesome. I was learning something new all the time. And the learning curve just went like this. And I figured out routines, I figured out mental checklists, and a couple of years of just beating those into your head and practicing. And even as far as the shot timer, getting used to what 90 seconds actually feels like. So you don't have to look at the clock all the time. It was just like kind of a muscle memory thing. And now I'm kind of the point where I did so much back then starting out that I don't want to say I'm on cruise control now, but it doesn't take as much effort now. That's kind of like instilled in my body, like the timing and how to approach a stage and my checklist. It just comes natural. You might see some train wrecks in the next year or two. There's a lot of stuff going on with the business, and I got 3 kids now, and there's just a lot going on to where I can't prepare like I used to. I used to start like 3 weeks before a match, and I'd get my gun ready, and then when it was ready, I'd put it aside, and I'd get out like a 223 or something with more recoil and just practice and play around with it. And then a couple of days before the match, I'd get my gun back out and it was already good to go. I'd just reconfirm the data and show up. But now it kind of seems like I try and shoot the same caliber so that it's kind of the easy button, where before I was jumping from caliber to caliber, and because it kept it interesting. But now it's like the dasher's the easy button. I need this gun, I'll just grab the dasher. I know 31.6 grains of varget is going to shoot good, and we're just going to roll with that. Make sure it's zeroed, get your data, and show up. So I guess that's kind of how I train now. But
it's very true what you said about how there's so much that's just instilled into you. You know, we've been able to watch you shoot at a couple of matches, you know, particularly AG Cup, and then the Vortex match a couple of weeks ago. And it really does seem like a lot of the time it's just happening. You know, you watch some people shoot and it's like, oh, I forgot this. And it's you just kind of run real smooth when you're behind the rifle.
Mm-hmm. I always thought that like 75% of being successful in PRS is having a strong mental game. So I always reinforced, you know, your pre-stage checklist, just taking care of absolutely every possible thing you can off the clock, so that whenever the buzzer beeps, you don't have to do that, like adjusting bipod legs. And like you should be able to look at a stage and be like, all right, I need a little bit of extra length on my bipod here. I need this bag for this position, and I'm going to ditch it and use this. So you build that game plan by looking at the stage. And the only way you can do that is by shooting that many matches and going through it. So yeah, I guess experience helps the smoothness and being prepared, but strong mental game is 75% of it.
Yeah, experience. Mister, I came in third on my first match. I'm just saying. You just kind of.
Well, it wasn't my first match. It was my first PRS match. So these backwoods sniper matches that we would shoot, I mean, we were doing some crazy stuff. We would climb up a 12-foot ladder and take like a shot straight down. That was teaching us our scope height versus our bore, you know, that sort of thing. It was basically PRS style shooting, but with no rules. We actually used slings back then. I think one of the matches was like each shot was worth 1 point, but the cold bore was offhand at 1,000 yards and it was worth 100 points. So I mean, it wasn't fair, but
Wow.
the scoring, but that's the way these matches ran. They would do things, and that's the way it was. So then we came into PRS, and it was just like every hit's worth the same. And then it's to the point now where it's like regulated. I guess that's the term I'll use.
Yeah, and there's pros and cons to both ways. You know, it's cool having, you know, stuff off the wall, stuff different, stuff with more thinking, that really tests you. But then also, like, sometimes it's nice to have the control of, you know, you don't have, you know, I've been to one match before that I went from a solid first place to sixth place because of one shot. And it's like, you know, I missed.
Was it like a KYL target?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it was. And that was one of the days that I was very for all of the PRS rules and keeping everything. It's like, make everything worth the same. But it's that was stupid because I lost more points on that one shot than like the second stage of the day was worth less points than that one shot that I missed.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I have mixed feelings on KYL targets. I like them. I like the risk. I'm kind of a gambler, and I think you should know your limits and you should know when you should stop. Mm-hmm. So, but there's the whole 1 point per one impacted steel. So I get that.
Yeah. Most of the time at that match, the KYL is what lets me win the match because I do know my limit. But I just had a bad freaking shot. It cost me the match. It's like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, or we were talking earlier. I don't know how long ago it was, but I'm still bitter about it.
We can tell.
Yeah. So speaking about different kinds of matches, you just recently shot the Vortex Team Sniper Challenge up in North Carolina. How did you like that? How did you like the way that compared to PRS? And, you know, do you feel that all of your crazy levels of experience in PRS truly prepared you for this match?
So I was thinking about this, and I honestly think the only things that transferred over were pulling the trigger and gaming a stage, which I think you're supposed to game the stage on this because there's like so many different ways you can shoot it, and it's up to you to figure it out. And I really like that aspect. So they basically just, it's a team match, and you've got to work with your partner. They tell you which targets are primary and which targets are secondary. Well, you can either get up there and both of you just go to town on your own targets, or he can help you shoot yours. You can help him shoot his. There's so many different combinations on how you manage your time. That was something I wasn't used to. So we're still working through that. We're going to shoot another one. It was a lot of fun. I liked having the teammate. There's somebody to blame if you do bad on the stage. But yeah, and then we did the whole hiking, camping aspect of it. So there was a lot to think about, and we were tired, and yeah, it was a good time. There's I see lots of footage up on your page of the different teams shooting, and some of them did things completely different than the way me and Ken did, but I don't know what's right and what's wrong. I guess it would have helped to watch a few of the matches first, but we literally had no idea.
I don't know.
Everything's.
I don't know that there's a right or a wrong. I think it depends on different people's strengths. And if you have a team that's two very accomplished shooters, I think it'll be attacked differently than if one shooter is stronger than the other. Where you feel like, well, that shooter can definitely get the points, so we want to help, or maybe one is a better spotter than the other. I think that it's going to vary depending on who, the strengths of the team. And I kind of like that about it, that, I mean, most PRS stages, you can watch them and there'll be a little bit different ways to shoot it. Occasionally people do them in a different order or something, but it's most of the time, pretty much everybody's doing it pretty much the same. And watching these stages, you can see 10 different teams do it 10 different ways. And I think it's I like that it's very fluid and different, and you can change up how you shoot it. You can skip targets if, and sometimes people skipped targets and then they finished with time left over and they were like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have skipped that, and then sometimes people would stand there and go to war with a target, and there were really easy targets at the end. And so they didn't get those points they would have gotten if they would have just, looked at their time and said, nope, I need to leave this be. That's something I have a hard time doing, is like leaving something like it, but it's still there. I haven't finished it, I had that problem in 3-gun too. If you're going to war with something, sometimes it's better to just, leave it. But I think that it's really interesting with those to see the different ways that teams attack them. And I think that you wouldn't have that if it wasn't blind. So my question to you was, how do you like the blind stages? You've done blind stages also at AG Cup before, because those are blind. You don't get to see the other shooters shoot them. So do you like blind stages better, or do you like when you can see it and find it?
I like blind stages in PRS because I know what I'm doing, but at the Vortex Sniper Challenge, I had no idea what I was doing. So it would have been pretty helpful to watch a couple other teams go at it. But no, I think the blind stages is a good idea. You come up with your own game plan and you execute it. You don't change it last minute because somebody in front of you did something different. And you just, that's part of the game, is figuring it out, and you need to figure it out with your teammate. So that was fun.
That was one of the things that screwed me more than anything else when I first started shooting. I started out shooting USPSA and 3-gun, and I'd come up with a game plan and I'd rehearse it. In USPSA, you get walkthroughs. So there's 5 minutes where you can just walk through the short shooting area, and, your finger pistols, pew, 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 pew. And I do that so many times and get it into memory. And then it's like 2 people before it's my turn to go, and someone does something like completely crazy, mows down the stage. And I'm like, damn, I should do that. And I try and do it, but I haven't rehearsed it. I don't have it embedded in my mind. And it's just an absolute train wreck.
9 times out of 10, that's a bad idea. Every time that I've changed in PRS, like, oh, that worked out for him, I should do that. And like you said, it doesn't work out the same. It all comes down to that rehearsing it in your head and the mental preparedness. So
and then also
pick a game plan and stick with it.
Then also in PRS, the big thing is knowing your personal strengths and weaknesses. I can't even put into words how proud I was of myself the first time in a PRS match. There was a bunch of people that were competing for the top place in the match, really good shooters, and they were up in front of me and they all did the same thing. And I'm just like, I don't know. I'm going to stick with my plan. And I stuck to my plan. And I shot better than most of them did on that stage. And I just walked off. I'm like,
well, and there's a lot of times, I talk about shooting to your strengths. The one that I think of is at Alabama, everybody shooting out the back of the deuce, shooting the bowling pins. Like everybody was taking a tripod up there. Everybody.
This is exactly the stage I was talking about.
As a tack table to be a rear support. I will spend 30 seconds fighting with the tripod to get it where I want it. I just will. With seated, I have a harder time getting it how I want it when it's in a confined space like that. And I know me, and I know I can crunch up in a ball and I can put my buttstock on my knee. I can pull my right knee up, put my buttstock on it, and I can shoot just like if it was shooting off the back of a tripod. And so that's what I did. I got up there and put my elbow on, and everybody's like, you need to use a tripod. You need to use a tripod. And I was like, I suck at that. And I know it, so I'm not going to. And I got up there and I did well. But other people, it wouldn't work that way for. So I think everybody needs to shoot to their strengths. And I do think sometimes we get influenced by watching other people, but I agree. It would be nice to, when I shot Mammoth, it was my first match of the sniper type, like Vortex. And it was interesting getting up there. Like they'd give you the stage brief and you get up there and you're like, oh, this is not what I thought it was going to be. And it's like, you're on the clock trying to figure it out. So it's kind of interesting, but it's fun to do. And I think the more of them that you do, you'll kind of learn what to look for and what's going to be out there and kind of how to attack.
I think the biggest struggle for me at that Vortex match with the different format was finding targets, because I'm not used to having to find my targets. I already know where they're at. So finding them, and then you'd have to decipher whether they were your targets or your partners, and then you range them, and you get I had the Vortex Fury binos, and
they're pretty sweet.
It would tell me my data on the top and the distance. And I'd have that, and then I'd be like, oh, there's another one. And then I'd go over to that one, and I'd forget what the distance was for this one. And Ken's like, what was that distance? And I'm like, oh, I forget. And I'd have to come back. I'm just not used to having to know that kind of stuff. And that ate up a lot of time, and we timed out. And I need a better process for that. I don't know if that's just an arm board where when I find something and range it, I quickly scribble down the range on my wrist and then move on, or just find a target, shoot the target, and then move on. But what I was doing wasn't working out.
Yeah, that's something. It also depends on what the stage is. If it's the primary shooter has to shoot first, you're going to do different than if you guys are both engaging at the same time, and it's going to go, so it's just, it all depends on the people on the stage. I'm going to hit one live real quick. Francis Clone wants to know, how do you manage to say only about 4 words at matches and still come across as so nice all the time?
Hi, Francis.
I think it's a smile.
I don't know how to answer that question.
We'll just
you are on the quiet variety, because there are times I want to be like, Dave, be quiet, you're talking too much.
I got a lot to think about at a match.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually what I've always thought, because you've always been very friendly and very nice. It's not that you're not friendly. I always think that you're in the zone and that you're thinking through things. So I try to, when people are quiet like that, I try to not interfere with that unless I'm going, what'd you get on that stage at AG Cup? And you're going, I'm not going to tell you.
I had issues at that match, but we don't need to talk about that.
Here I was trying to get the scores. I'm trying to figure out who's got how many points and keep up the live coverage. And we missed yours. So I'm like, Dave, what'd you get on that stage? And you were like, I'm not telling you. And I was like, fine, well, that's the RO. So I went down there. I'm like, what did he just get? That was so funny though.
That was, I remember that. But that match is always wild to see. So what would you say that your biggest lesson, or what are some of the lessons that you learned at this team match that you're gonna work hardest on before the next match?
Okay, on a not so serious note, apparently I'm not supposed to wear cotton socks.
You are not supposed
So
to.
we got done with a 4 mile.
I would have told you this.
We got done with a 4 mile ruck, and everybody's like taking their wet clothes off, and I take my shoes off to let my feet dry out, and literally every single person starts looking at me. And then Alan Jaworski from like 500 feet away screams, "Are those cotton socks?" And I'm just like, yeah, why? And it was, yeah, you're not supposed to wear cotton socks.
Also, I hear apparently you're not supposed to dry your socks on a tripod clothesline over a fire in case somebody bumps into it.
Yeah, we did that. Another big thing was for the rucks, don't put a sweatshirt on, don't wear a hat, because everything's going to get soaked and then you've got no way to dry it out. So just suck it up in a t-shirt, even if it's 45 degrees and raining, which it was on Sunday. And then from the shooting aspect, what did I learn? It basically just comes down to trying different things, communicating with your partner. Like, I need a better way to manage the data, like ranging to, I see a lot of guys with the laser rangefinders mounted to their scopes, and they were able to just range, hold over, and shoot on some of the bigger targets, where we still had to manually range with our binos and then look at our arm boards and then dial our data. We need to get more efficient on being able to, find, shoot, and hit targets, which I'm still not sure what that is yet, but we'll work on it.
Well, I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with at your next match.
And I also need to work with Ken on his pistol shooting.
Oh, you're terrible.
Sorry, Ken. In full disclosure, he was using my pistol, which the red dot was knocked off. So when you combine the two, it wasn't a good combination.
Oh gosh,
that's rough. I could have helped you with the socks, man. Let me tell you, when I was training for Mammoth, I had huge blisters and I wasn't wearing the right socks. And I tried 3 different types of socks before I came up, and shoes. I had to change shoe sock combination before I came up with one that did not just rub. I mean, blisters this big on the bottom of my ball of my foot. So I could have warned you about the socks, because that's not.
Well, we did 21 miles, and I think my pack was, it was either 57 or 62. Ken carried the tripod in, I carried the tripod out. But I didn't have any trouble with blisters or anything with my feet. Maybe another day or 2 I would have, but it wasn't too bad.
And it was kind of nice that your rucks at this match were at the beginning and the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Not like some other matches where it's ruck, shoot, ruck, shoot, ruck, shoot. So your feet kind of had a little bit of a time to relax and throughout the course of the day. And while we were chilling there watching the white fog just surround us. I've still never seen fog like that in my life. That was ridiculous. Ooh.
And then I also need to get more efficient with how I layer my pack, put the most commonly used things at the top. I was constantly buckling, unbuckling. It was kind of annoying. So I guess for the next match, I'm going to have a different setup to get to my stuff easier.
A lot of people have those where like the whole front of the pack unzips, and you could run it. It depends on if you open it up during the stage or not. And I don't think there's a lot of stages that really involve going into the pack while you were shooting for the most part. Some people were doing, but at some other matches.
Even having the zipper that goes all the way around, because my pack had that. I didn't want to have to open the whole thing. I wanted to be able to just unzip the top. And so like I layered my stuff, like my food for Sunday was at the very, very bottom of my pack in a Ziploc bag. Then my food for Saturday. And then like my sleeping stuff for camp was all at the bottom. Like I had things that I wouldn't need till camp time all at the bottom. And then at the top was the stuff I really needed most often. And the very outside zipper, I kept my mags and my ammo, a bag of ammo, because at Mammoth, some of the times, if you were the last rucker in, you were probably the first shooter because they did it by order of you got to pick as you came in. And a lot of times, if you were the last rucker in, nobody wanted to go first. So, you would have to go first. So it'd be a fast turn. You'd have to load your mags fast because you couldn't ruck with full mags because it was a military base. But I got to where I got really efficient with where to put it. Just you have to play with it, and sometimes you have to do like smaller Ziploc bags for like these are the things this is the ammo I'll need for Friday. So and put the rest of it in the very very bottom. But yeah, I agree that is something that you don't realize until you're in it and you're like, oh, this sucks how I have this laid out. I need to change, and you can't really change in the middle of the day. So yeah, it's interesting. And I would say extra socks is a big thing. Because then if they get wet, you can change your socks and put on dry socks.
Right.
And let the others dry out while you're shooting or whatever. People would hang socks on the outside of their pack.
Smells so good around there. Yeah, even just going to shoot a PRS match, I'll still have like a dry pair of socks around me because that's like the most refreshing, amazing thing in the world sometimes to just get on some dry socks. So we're about at the midpoint of the show. Remember, if you're watching us live on Facebook, ask any questions you may have live in the comment section of the video and we'll ask them live on air. Other ways to catch us is you can always check back on the Shooter's Mindset Facebook page. The videos stay up there forever. We usually upload all the upload to all of the podcast apps the night after the show, so you can take us with us on the road with you or to work. And then finally, everything eventually ends up on the Shooter's Mindset YouTube page. So that's a great place to look up some of our older historic episodes.
That's awesome. Check us out. I think people have been actually listening to the podcast, which is cool. I've had a couple of people have said, I listened to you on the way here. I was like, oh, that's kind of, I'm sorry.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that had to listen to you all the way to the match.
You didn't have to listen to me. You and Damien talked the whole time, and I sat in the back seat. So let's talk a little bit about Gray Ops. You are an accomplished shooter, as we all know, but you also have started a new company. So tell us a little bit about it, how it got its start. Brag on it a bit.
All right. Started in like 2019. The company name is named after my son Gray. The animal is actually a mink, our little logo, little mink head. And that relates because that's what I did before Gray Ops CNC. My family had a mink farm, and that's kind of where that came in. So mink head, Gray, that's where the company name came in. Basically had all these ideas from shooting, and I needed a nighttime hobby. So I went in and got the stuff to make CNC parts and started doing it at night. I think my first product was the solo plate, which was like a gamer plate, but it was pretty big, tripod mounted, gun mounted, held some optics and rangefinders and stuff like that. And we've since progressed from that, but that was the first product that kind of introduced the gamer plate. And I mean, things started going good, and I was spending just about every night in the shop machining stuff. And I would ask to leave work early to go catch up on orders and stuff like that. And then in 2020, I decided to go full time with it and got some more machines. And we just recently, it's still in construction now, finishing stages, but we just added another shop onto the old shop, which basically tripled our size. I'm actually in my office for like the second time ever for this podcast. But yeah, with the engineering background, I kind of just taught myself how to run the machines, and here we are. So I had one employee since the beginning. I just got a machine operator a few weeks ago, and that's really been freeing up some time for me. Yeah, things are going good, and I'm having fun with it. That's the important part.
That is awesome. I think that having a job that you love and that you're passionate about is like a life-changing thing there.
Somebody said today, like, you work all the time, because they always ask me, what are you doing tonight? And I'm like, I'm working. Like, why do you work all the time? And I'm like, it doesn't feel like work. I like to do it. Like, that's what I want to do. So, and it ties into shooting, which is, I love shooting. It's just a good combination to have.
I'm always amazed at the people that are shooters and want something, and so they start a company. But what's more amazing to me is that you needed a nighttime hobby and you're a PRS shooter, because I feel like PRS sucks so much time between, any dry fire practice, getting gear together, reloading ammo, looking online for components. Like, it's always something. So the fact that you do that and shoot as many matches as you shoot, and then you still have time to do it, or before, when you had a full-time job, had time to do it in the evening, is kind of impressive to me. Like, you must not ever sleep.
I get very little sleep, but that's why I said expect a bad match or two coming up, because it's starting to catch up with me. But 2013 to 2015, 16, that was where, I was head over heels for shooting. There was one point in time, there was a 90-day stretch in a row where I shot a bolt gun every single day for 90 days straight. And I think that was the 2015 season when I won it. But now it's kind of like, oh, there's a 2-day PRS AG Cup match coming up. All right, it's on Friday, so let's start getting ready on Wednesday.
Yeah.
But
I'm the one that's like, wait, where's my magazine? Where's my gray ops plate? Where's my this? Trying to find all my stuff and get it back together before a match.
So here's an idea for the V3. I need a slot machine in it for an Apple AirTag. I am not the disorganized person. It doesn't look super organized behind me, but I generally know where everything is. The thing that I've lost more than anything else is my V1 mini plate here, and I don't know how. It's just that thing. We're offering.
You have to get two of them and keep.
I
one
have
in your
two now.
backpack
I have a V1 and a V2 for that particular reason.
There you go.
What out of all of your products, what would you say is your favorite? I know this is like your kids are like, Dad, which one of us is your favorite? But what's your favorite thing you've ever designed and made?
Oh, geez. I don't know. I like the Mini Plate Pro. That's my favorite. It started with the solo plate, and then it went to the Amp Elite tripod plate. and then we went to the regular mini plate, and then we introduced the mini plate pro. So there was all that kind of like technology and shooter feedback that all went into one product. So it was like the fourth generation by that point. And there's still not much I would change on it to this day. So I think that's probably my favorite product. But the little 22 billet sliders that just released a couple of days ago, I think that's going to be pretty awesome, because I plan on doing a lot of 22 rimfire this year. And everybody who's picked one up and felt it's like, holy smokes, this is awesome.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. What kind of tell us about this, and I'll hit here and hit share so we could kind of see it.
Yeah, so you've got a solid aluminum case that holds 2 of the 50 rounds. So a lot of people use like Lapua Center X, or they all have these little plastic inserts in them. Well, they all happen to be the same exact size. So I made this case that holds them and allows you to slide open the lid and dump 5, 10, 15, 20 rounds at a time. So you don't have to keep using the cardboard that disintegrates in your backpack. It's just easy, convenient, and you can slide it in the side of your backpack and it doesn't smash.
But what if I use something that comes bolt packed? I can't use it then, right?
So I have provided little plastic inserts that actually have little tabs on them that are nicer than what you get in the Lapua Center X for removing them. But every case ships with those. So even if you're using bulk ammo, or a lot of guys are using the Eli plastic box, but even those are a little bit cumbersome to use. So just flip them over on something flat, slide over our little insert, and you can use our case.
Very cool.
I actually have one right here. It wasn't anodized. This is straight off the machine, but pretty cool little.
I get one of those. I'm
cool
really gonna miss doing what I do at least once every 22 match.
The same thing you do every time you open a box of primers?
At least once a match, I'm trying to reload. Now, granted, when I go shoot a match, I'm usually ROing, helping a new shooter. And anyway, I end up opening the box upside down at least once every single match, and then ammo goes everywhere. And then I'm like,
there you go. Well, one feature I didn't mention is the center button unlocks it, and then there's a ball detent. So every 5 rounds that it comes to, it holds, so you can dump and the lid won't move. So it's pretty convenient, and when it locks, it doesn't move at all. Like, you can't even hear it move. So it's more or less kind of like a Rolex of carrying your 22 stuff. It's almost a little jewelry box. So we're super proud of this. It's a little overkill for 22, but we like extreme stuff, so we went ahead and made it.
Yeah, I mean, 22 is supposed to be like a cheap hobby for me, and now, oh wow, actually, look, I have a rimfire or a center fire behind me for the first time in forever. Normally it's back there, but it was supposed to be like, oh yeah, I could get into this for under $1,000. It's going to be great. Now I got like a $5,000 freaking rimfire set up and running matches and an entire shed full of props and targets and all of that good stuff. So yeah, I understand how stuff gets out of hand. That's totally fits my bill for 22 stuff that I'm going to own. You had another kind of cool thing come out recently too that's kind of different from the stuff that you've made in the past. The turret glow.
Yeah, that's kind of a unique product so a lot of these products stem from basically what I want to make, because I'm out doing the shooting thing too, and I'll need something, so I'll make it and then I'll turn it into a product. So a lot of times we'll go out coyote hunting at night with night vision, and we're forced to use holdovers and stuff like that. Well, I came out with a turret glow so it would illuminate my reticle, and we could make 400 or 500 yard shots with night vision. by dialing our scope and not having to turn a flashlight on, something like that. So that kind of stemmed from a coyote hunt where we missed some coyotes because we were trying to hold over instead of dial our distance. But
That's pretty cool. That actually could be helpful at K&M in the shoot house.
that's
was in
usually
there
the
one day
first
and
comment people say.
I could not see my turrets. Like I couldn't see, and so I'm up there like trying to count. I could see the big, but not the little ones. And so I'd go to the big one and then I'd count, trying to. That one day it was like a little overcast, I guess, out, and not a lot of light was shining in, or what was shining in this way, and I'm trying to see the turret on this side. So it was just a shadow from the light coming in this way, and I couldn't see it for anything. I'm getting older too. I have trouble seeing the turret a little bit anyway, but yeah, that would be helpful for moments like that in a shoot house that's kind of dark.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
We do have if I can chime in, we do have a new product coming out. It's hard to say when, probably a couple months from now, but I'll really be releasing some videos and some info before the launch. It's a pretty big product, and it's actually not made by me, but will be the US distributor for it. And it is better than anything I've used so far. I don't know how much info I can give on this product, but
we would like for you to give all of it.
I've been using it at night, trying to abuse it and make sure that it can wear the, I guess, the gray ops seal of approval. But yeah, super excited. And it may or may not have to do with annealing brass. I think that's probably all I can say for right now until I.
Okay, so that totally changed the direction I thought we were going. I was like, night, is it only for use at night? With a small moon? But no, something for annealing brass. Well,
Yep.
we look forward to hearing about this, and when it comes time to say more, make sure to hit up your favorite podcasters and social media peoples, and we'll see what we can do to spread the word. And also, if you tell us first, it's always good.
All right, will do.
We'll put it out there.
So Wade said, drop the bomb, Dave. Brian said, and Mike Bell said, really brass at night? ?
That's about my only chance to get to play in my gun room anymore, is after work, after the kids are asleep, then I go down to my gun room and play around this kind of stuff. But yeah, having kids definitely throws a curveball into getting anything done.
That is
especially with my kid Gray, who thinks he needs to do everything that Dad does with his Nerf gun.
well, he's going to be a rucker, right?
That's right. He's
You
been
have
practicing.
that
I put my backpack on the scale and it weighed 62 pounds, and he put his on right after and it weighed 4 pounds, and he's like, this is so heavy.
What's him and the backpack together?
46 pounds.
You can just ruck with him on your back
Pretty much.
to train. Greg, do you have that picture? You ought to show that picture. It was so cute.
I'll dig it up here in a sec.
So when Dave was getting ready for this Vortex match, and I assume you were rucking some and going out and he was seeing that, he apparently put on his rucksack and his it had a couple of changes of clothes. Well, you tell the story, what all it had in it.
Yeah, his rucksack is a superhero backpack. It's like a Marvel backpack. It's got all the different stuff on it. And he's got an Accuracy International Nerf gun that he basically started crying because there wasn't a good way to put his rifle in his backpack the same way mine was. So I just unzipped the top and shoved it down in. But inside he's got a set of walkie-talkies so me and him can talk. And then he had a couple different sets of clothes in there, and he had a couple toys in there. But yeah, he wears that around
to go along with it.
And then the morning that I left to go to the Vortex match. I opened up my truck door to put the last couple of things in, and he had snuck his backpack in there the night before because he thought he was
Aw.
going with me.
Oh,
All we see is your Apple, Cannon.
oh, let's try again. I like
That
that.
is so cute. He wanted to go with you.
Does,
Yeah.
does Ken know? You see it now?
Yes.
Yep, I see it.
Does Ken know he's being replaced? You're already training him. That is adorable.
That's right.
And I love it. He's got the Vortex shirt. I mean, he's
Yeah,
ready.
that's his shooting shirt.
Just make
that's
sure he
what he
doesn't
calls
have
it.
cotton socks.
I'll never live that down.
But what place did he finish?
Second.
So did the socks really matter?
Apparently not.
You did
That's-
okay for your first one. I think so.
Alan said hashtag training for Mammoth 2035.
It'll be sooner than that.
Yeah,
That's
there's
awesome.
somebody that did Mammoth with his son, and I want to say the son was maybe 12.
Well, looking back on
yeah.
12-year-old me, yeah, I could have done that.
It was the year I RO'd. But, and I mean, you would think, oh, well, the dad's telling him everything to do. But on the stage that I was ROing, that he was, the kid was like, you know, calling his own shots, looking at the wind. And he was like, nope, I've got this one, Dad. I've got this. Like, I mean, he was confident in his own stuff. It wasn't like Dad was holding his hand and telling him what to do. He had trained and he knew what he was doing. I was really impressed with them. It was cool to see him out there doing it.
That's
So
impressive.
something to look forward to. And of course, at 12, things don't hurt nearly as bad as they do at our age. Well, my age. I don't know about you. But
Say I feel the same. But even now, looking back on, you know, all the backpacking and hiking I used to do when I was a teenager, now it's just like, oh, why did I do that? That doesn't sound fun. John Sneed wants to know if there's going to be more air rifle comps for you.
Yeah, the Rocky Mountain Air Gun Challenge. I forget when it is, but I know a couple of my friends are already going to it. So I don't know. Probably going to go back to it this year. It was a good time. They've got. I can give a brief overview of what it actually was. There's like 4 separate matches within the same weekend, I guess. They have their bench rest match. It was at 100 yards. And then they have a positional match, which is like your PRS match. And it's basically just 10 stages one day. And then they had a slug match because you can shoot either pellets or slugs, which I think this coming year, the PRS match, they're going to allow slugs, where last year it was all pellets. And then the 4th one was the speed challenge, which that's really impressive to watch. Those guys are fast. Like, if I'm pretty good with a gun and I'm good at acquiring targets, but I would have got my ass handed to me at this if I competed in that speed challenge. I mean, it was all holdovers. I don't know. Look it up. Rocky Mountain Air Gun Speed Gun Challenge. It's amazing what those guys can do, how fast they work the bolt and do their holdovers, and
do you
pretty
want
cool.
to know what shooting genre is really crazy? SAS shooting, single action. It's like they're shooting single action revolvers and single action rifles, the kind that you know what I'm talking about?
Lever
Like,
action?
huh?
Lever action?
Yes, thank you. Lever action. I couldn't think of it. And they are, and single shot shotguns that they break open. I mean, and these people are like stupid fast. Like,
Yeah.
there are some kids out there doing it that it's like, I mean, they can shoot a pistol fast, just as fast as I can shoot a semi-auto, and they're having to cock it every time. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's really fun to watch. If you ever have one in your area, like, just go watch it just because it is impressive.
I need to go drive up to Atlanta to go watch that sometime.
As far as speed ones, I think those are some of the most fun to watch.
But yeah, the air gun stuff is pretty cool. I think at my next NRL 22, I might maybe have my first air gun shooters come out there for that. I had a bunch of fun with the guys from Utah Air Guns and Air Force Air Guns when they were out there at AG Cup, getting to play with all their fancy toys and stuff. I'm kind of surprised I haven't bought one yet, but also I'm trying to be not poor, so saving and stuff.
Yeah, Brian Lewis said he got his hopes up when you said at night. I was just looking through the comments. This is funny. Yeah, Mike Bell said that he might have gotten into this sport a little bit late because you're so young and so accomplished. So where do you see Gray Ops in 5 years?
That's a good question.
What would your goal be, your dream goal, if you...
I don't want to get too big too quick. I like machining stuff. I know that in order to grow a company big, you kind of have to step back and not run machines and I don't want to be that guy. I want to be like involved in like still creating products that I want to make. And so keep it small, but customer service and just make awesome stuff. So I don't know if that answered the question real well, but we're growing pretty fast, and I just want to keep having fun with it and not lose interest in shooting. And my number one goal is to never stop actually going to matches and shooting. I think that's important to me. So I'm never going to let the business take away from that. So yeah, we'll keep shooting. I'll keep seeing everybody at matches. What's that?
Any dream products that you're like, I really want us to get to where we can make such and such?
I don't know if there's not really a specific product, but starting from like never running a CNC machine before, every product kind of builds on itself, and we try and incorporate something new into everything. So in a few more years, there's going to be so much more stuff that we're able to do, and the products are just going to keep getting better.
It's cool. And another cool thing about your company is you're always working with other friendly companies, for this fancy secret nighttime annealing thing, to your relationship that you have with MPA, where, you go and you buy an MPA chassis, then the first thing you do is you go over to the Gray Ops site, and there's an entire catalog of just the MPA accessories. And it's not like you're, some random company in Taiwan that's like, oh, I'm going to make something that'll bolt onto this. You work pretty closely with Phil. Phil, definitely respects everything you do. I'm not sure how that relationship exactly works, but it's clear that it's a very tight relationship, and that, you're not just some guy that's making stuff that bolts onto his crap. It's a collaboration. So it's cool that you're able to do stuff like that too.
Yeah. Phil's a good guy. He makes awesome stuff, and his chassis are super comfortable, and I'm lucky enough to be able to shoot for him on his shooting team. And yeah, it just works out. Talk to him almost daily.
Speaking of other companies' gear that you use and that you like, John asked, has he talked about the Gen 3 Razor? How does the glass compare to the Gen 2 for Mirage and Trace?
I love the Gen 3 Razor. The glass if anybody asked me what I wanted more from a Gen 2 to Gen 3, it was just glass. Like, I liked everything about the Gen 2. In certain conditions, I struggled to see things. And looking through other people's glass, I mean, there was a slight difference, but the Gen 3 now, it changes everything. I mean, the glass is on par, if not better than all the top brands out there. And they were able to do that and still keep that Vortex reputation of being like indestructible. I know it's a little bit of the Gen 2 was a heavy scope, but it was known for basically never breaking or having very few failures. I'm more than happy to carry a heavier scope with that trade-off. But as far as watching trace, yeah, the color's good. The glass is crystal clear. Definitely a pretty big upgrade, not a slight upgrade. It was a pretty big step in the right direction.
How about that zero stop system in it too?
Yeah.
It's just like, and that's something that across the Vortex product line has just been getting easier and easier and easier with every iteration. And I think with the Gen 3 Razor, it's just like, that's it. That's all you got to do to zero it.
And that was also a huge thing that people may not realize, but with the Gen 2, you had the 3 set screws around the turret cap that you had to tighten down, and you had to tighten them down equally. And I guess it would leave little indents that if you tried to zero another gun and it ended up being about the same spot, it might want to ride in one of those little dimples, where the Gen 3 now uses a ring with a screw that goes through the side. So it's squeezing the turret as opposed to running set screws into it. So that was definitely an improved design on the Gen 3 for zeroing.
Yeah, with a lot of other scopes, like the majority of the scopes on the market of that style, you ran into that, 3 set screw system, and it's always that awkward position of, okay, I could tighten this a little bit tighter, but I might dimple this, but I don't want it to fall off, and I don't want it to slide or anything. So it's always difficult trying to get that right torque. But with that new kind of tightening system, that is sweet. So what goals have you set for yourself in the 2022 shooting season?
Well, the goal is always the same. It's always to do the best that you possibly can and hopefully win a golden bullet. But with 3 kids in the business, I'm not going to say I don't deserve that, but I definitely can't put as much time into it as what I used to. I still love to do it and get out as much as I possibly can. So I guess my realistic goal for this year is just to stay Mr. Consistent and never have a train wreck of a match, and always try and never have a bad stage. So if you can never have a bad stage, you're always going to be in contention, and make the finale, make the AG Cup. And I always try and I'd like to shoot some 22 rimfire this year. I'd like to shoot a little bit of air gun this year. And I always try and go to a match that I've never been to in a different part of the country. So every year I try and pick a new match to go to. So
Awesome.
I guess those are my goals for this year.
Have you picked your new match for this year yet?
I'm thinking about Keith Baker, Doug Koenig's match in Colorado.
I hear that.
I think it's in Colorado, right? Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
But
pretty sure.
I heard
It's
it's
someplace
beautiful.
really
I hear it's a pretty awesome venue, and there's no other place like it. It's kind of on par with the Hornady PRC match in types of like the terrain. So that's one of my favorite matches. I'm going to go back to that one again this year. I've got the War Rifle match coming up end of March. MKM match here in Pennsylvania. That's an AG Cup in April. And then I'm going to the Pig River match in June. It's the first time I've been able to go to that. Bandy's super excited because I always have a family camping trip planned that weekend and I can never go. So I'm going this year. And after that, I'll have Hornady and a couple other ones that I'll squeeze in. But
that's awesome. We might see at Pig River. We'll have to see. I'm hoping I can make that happen this year. That was a super fun match last time I was out there. Only time I've ever been in the middle of a shooters meeting and a black bear started walking out on the range back behind everybody.
Yeah, that was fun. That was more than one. It was like a mom and
Mom and a couple of cubs.
like at about 700 yards from us down the range. Like literally, he was doing the shooters meeting, and everybody's like, "Oh, a bear!" So everyone stops the shooters meeting to walk up and look at the bear.
I just walked to glass. I was sitting there and I'm like trying to see it. And then I'm like, wait, there is a line of nice, expensive glass here. Oh, there we go.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When I took the class up there, Sean and Greg's class up there, and we camped, I thought about that bear as I was laying in the tent. Like, wonder if that bear is going to come and get me. Like, it was a little unnerving thinking about it. I was like, but it didn't come down. So,
Nope, you only got gotten by the little mammal at that place.
yeah, I had a mouse run up my leg. Literally a field mouse ran up my leg. Ryan Allison grabbed it off my leg and took it somewhere else with me screaming like a girl, but it's okay. Not every day you have that happen. How are we on lives, Greg?
We are good on lives.
All right. Well, I think we can wind it down to shout outs. Then we usually start with you.
All right. I'd like to start out with GSL suppressors. It's not there right now. It's in the safe. Nice and quiet on my little 22. If you do start doing a lot of 22, suppressors just make it so much better. Hunter's HD Gold. I'm super blind and they make me a lot less blind. Shooters and Sharpshooters of Augusta are local indoor and outdoor ranges. Shooters World Powder. I could still find it at Shooters of Augusta. I just drive on down there and pick it up and go home. And what powder shortage? Now primers is another story, but got that. And fix it sticks so that you can fix your pew sticks when they break.
Dave, how about you? You got any shout outs?
Oh, I could probably touch on my sponsors. So Vortex Optics, Gen 3 Razor, awesome scope. Curtis Custom, Valor Action, GA Precision Gunsmithing. I've been running a 6-dasher here recently. I use Hawk Hill barrels, Bricks for putting his magic sauce on all the stuff he sends to me. Masterpiece Arms, I shoot their ESR chassis. Probably going to be switching over to the Matrix Pro here real soon. And then I got to give a shout out to my best sponsor that supports me, Gray Op CNC. They pay for all of my match fees and all of my stuff. But I'm trying to think, so Hornady A-tip bullets, and I don't think I'm missing anybody.
Good.
That's all my shout outs.
And my shout outs are short and sweet. I just want to shout out to you for coming on the show and spending a couple of hours with us to talk about shooting and gray ops and all that. And whenever you have this super secret nighttime, maybe not putting fire on brass thing, maybe we can talk about it again. So let us know whenever it's ready to come out, and we'll either help promote it on our page or have a show and talk about it, whatever you want to do.
All right. Sounds good. Well, thank you guys for having me.
Thank you so much. And with that, we will call episode 369 a wrap, and we will see y'all next week.